Hello everyone, welcome to the Mayor's Youth Council Talk Show. I'm your host, Vina Sullivan, and today as our guests, we have the Farmington Hills Mayor, Dr. Kenneth Massey, and a student liaison on the SAFE Commission, Alex Marashai. So, what is SAFE?
SAFE, well, first of all, thanks for thanks for hosting this. SAFE is an acronym that stands for Suicide Awareness for Everyone. And the purpose of SAFE, it's a board of volunteers whose mission statement it is to get information out to the community to help raise awareness of the issue, change the dialogue on mental health, removing stigma from talking about mental health issues, and thereby the long-term goal would be to reduce the incidence of suicide, which is, suicide has a lot of connotations to that word, and different people, based on their religious views or their social views or their ethnic views, interact with it differently. But the bottom line is suicide is the terminal end of an untreated mental illness, much like people who have heart disease or cancer. If it's caught early and treated appropriately, it can extend their life and offset that loss. Well, if we can change the dialogue on mental illness, we're hoping that you have the same type of effect. Find it early, treat it appropriately, and you can block or have a positive effect on suicide rates.
So what exactly do you do in this organization?
Well, we really communicate with the community because we want to get the message out that we want to release the stigma that is surrounding suicide, and we just want to help the families of possible suicide victims cope with what they've lost.
So why should the public be aware of mental health?
Well, mental health is very prevalent in our society, and at one point or another in people's lives, they're touched by depression, and everybody has loss in their lives, and how people interact with it, or job losses, that kind of thing, puts stress on people. And what we want individuals to know is that there is hope out there. This is not the end. It's a very trite way of saying it is that some of these problems, suicide is actually a very permanent solution to a temporary problem. Now, you can't tell somebody who's feeling depressed that, but at the end of the day, there are plenty of resources to support individuals. There's treatments available, and this community cares. And we're here to help people who are facing those life challenges, and we would rather assist them and get them through it than have to face the loss of one of our community members.
So what programs does SAFE provide for the community?
Well, a lot of what we do is informational. We're trying to get information out there, and we're also trying to change the dialogue. I'll just give you an example that when I was young, my parents did not want to talk about cancer. It was almost a discussion like, if you talked about, you said the word cancer, that meant somebody was going to get that word, get the disease. Well, that's called a contagion effect. People think that because you talk about it, it happens. Now we know we can watch television commercials, we can watch shows, people are talking about early warning signs, they're talking about cancer treatments and therapies. What has happened over the last 20 and 30 years in the realm of heart disease and cancers, now we need to apply that to mental health. Because if you can catch a disease early, you can treat it. But there's a stigma about saying mental health. You guys are young, but as you get a little older, you go to events and people talk all about their blood pressure medications or their cholesterol medications, and that seems fine, but you never hear a dialogue on mental health. We need to change that. So we do this through programs we call community conversations, in which we take a topic, we host a panel of experts to present on that topic. We usually host these at City Hall in Farmington Hills. The topic is presented And we've done things on substance abuse, abusive relationships, LGBT, internet addictions. We've talked about the loss, the survivor loss in suicide prevention, along with a number of other things. As we start and end the program out in the atrium of the City Hall, we have organizations that are there to give out information, because these are resource tables, resource organizations. So the entire thing is focused on getting information into the hands of our citizenry, so they know there's a problem, they know there's an answer to the problem, and they know that we care and we want to help them.
So what programs does the SAFE Commission plan to provide in the future?
We not only do fundraisers, which sometimes actually do turn into conversations themselves. Like we did a Grand Tavern one, I believe in 2015. That went really well. And we just do other stuff. It's all revolving around communicating with the community.
Do you want to bring up the next one that we've been talking about, which is post-traumatic stress disorder in our veterans? That's what we're hoping to get going here within this next quarter.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to former military personnel, and we're going to be seeing what they have to say about all this.
So why do you think it's important for the public to know about mental health? What effects can it cause?
Because it's so prevalent, it can cause physical feelings, physical manifestations. People who are depressed have trouble sleeping, they have trouble concentrating, they have gastrointestinal distress. So there are physical manifestations even of a mental illness. We also want people to know that it is more prevalent than most people think. And we want to be able to let them know that there's help. I keep coming back to that, because ultimately, while it may not seem that there's a way out, there is an answer in many cases. The Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta track the epidemiology of mental health and suicide, and it's estimated that 95 to 98% of people who die by suicide have an untreated mental illness.
Along with what he said, there's a lot of people who haven't ever tried to commit suicide, but they get affected because family members commit suicide. I remember way back when, my great-granduncle, one day, he just walked right out of the back porch. I believe this was in West Virginia, around that area. It was like dawn. He walked out of the back porch and shot himself with a 12-gauge shotgun. And it really affected all the family members way back when.
Alex, that's a great point, and it's so true. If we often ask during one of our community conversations, how many in the audience have been affected by knowing somebody lost a family member, so forth. It's the majority of people who put their hands up. But because people don't talk about it, we don't understand how prevalent it is.
So it seems so important that these programs have to be in the community. How is SAFE funded?
So SAFE actually receives no money from the city whatsoever for our activities. All of our programming, all of the materials that the printed materials that we hand out, we have refrigerator magnets, we have all kinds of things to get that message out there. All of those things are funded through a memorial fund called the Graham Smith Memorial Fund. And Alex has already mentioned the fundraiser that we held at the Grand Tavern. Actually, we've held a fundraiser at the Grand Tavern every June for the last 3 years. And we also have a softball tournament, and I would invite the Mayor's Youth Council to put in a team for the softball tournament. Just a little plug for that. It's in August. It's on the first Saturday of August. And these are the two major sources of funding. People attend the events. The Grand Tavern has a spaghetti dinner, the proceeds of which are donated to SAFE. We also do live auctions, 50-50 raffles, and then the softball tournament is strictly There's a fee to play, and all of those fees are generated and returned back to SAFE. And another one of our SAFE members used to work at BD's Mongolian Grill, and she hosts an event there in December between the holidays. So all of those types of things put money into the Graham Smith Memorial Fund, and that's the sole source of funding for all of the work that SAFE does.
Wow. So Alex, as a student member of the commission, why did you join SAFE?
Well, this kind of ties into that story that I told before. My mom told it to me maybe half a year back, and after I heard one of the advisors for Mayor's Youth Council, Todd Lippa, he told the group that SAFE was out there. This was all the way back in the beginning of my freshman year, whenever I first joined. And so I came up to him and I asked, hey, who owns this thing? And I found out that it was former pro tem mayor Ken Massey. And so I joined up and I saw what they were all about and say, hey, I'll stay.
So you're a liaison for the Mayor's Youth Council and SAFE. How is Mayor's Youth Council involved in SAFE programs?
I don't think we have really broken the surface quite yet, but I feel like in the future we can really not merge, but cooperate together to both forward the message for SAFE as well as forward the message for MYC.
Well, this has been a great conversation. Are there any last comments we'd like to say?
Well, for me, I welcome the participation of the Mayor's Youth Council. One of our other SAFE members, Josie Edwards, she's at North Farmington High School now, and she's trying to get some programs started at the high school, and I think it could be incorporated in all of our schools, starting from the 8th, 9th graders moving up. And something that's really simple that we could do that could really get involved in helping us get that message out there, as well as helping the individuals, is called a list of 5. And I would encourage, and we've talked about this at our SAFE meetings, is that each one of our citizens, and particularly our youth, should take a piece of paper, write down the 5 individuals that they know they can go to with any problem, so that when you're at that moment, if you're confronted with something that's really stressing you, you could look at that list of 5 and you know that those people, you trust them, they trust you, and you can talk to them about anything. Because one of the problems is that people feel very alone when they're in that particular vulnerable situation. And I think that list of 5 goes away. You don't share it with people. You just put it in your pocket, and you know that it's always there, and you know that those 5 people are there for you. And something as simple as that could really be a springboard to helping people deal with this mental health issue. And the other piece is not being afraid to talk about it, having the courage to talk about it. And I applaud you for doing that in this show.
That's a very important topic. So I would like to thank both of our guests for being on the show with us today, and thanking all of our viewers for watching this episode of the Mayor's Youth Council Talk Show.